Hello everyone, this is DD_Richard1 here on Gemmy Animatronics, and today I'm going to be finally reviewing the Gemmy 2012 life-size animated Hagatha the Witch prototype. So this character is one of the very last collapsible life-size characters that Gemmy ever designed, and it was never released. In 2012 there was this one, there was the green-skinned witch that had the flaming cauldron. I believe they sold the regular Cauldron Witch that year as well, and then there was Jason Voorhees. And that was basically it. Those are the last collapsible characters, and Jason was the last 6 foot type of character with that base, and this one was one of the last ones with the 5 foot like round base for a dancing character. Now this item is very interesting and neat, in my opinion. First of all, it's the only witch Gemmy has ever made that's not green in appearance. This one does have the same audio as like the Rota-Broom Witch and the Witch with the Broom, but there are some differences with it. You know, it's very clear audio. It's very loud. There's a lot of bass to it. But the problem with this witch is that it had a ton, and I mean a ton, of problems with it. So this actually was sent to Grandin Road in I guess the year 2012 as a sample. And just a year or so ago, someone whose aunt works at Grandin Road went to I guess a warehouse sale, or they went to the outlet store, because Grandin Road will sell samples at their outlet store in Ohio sometimes, FYI. And he picked this up. And apparently it never came with the staff or the fabric that goes on the head, and this thing got violated. Like if this was a real living human being, this thing would have been considered violated. So when I discovered the guy that had this, you know, he had used it outside one year, and she basically didn't have the original black dress on. The base was covered in dirt, like dried up mud. All the not battery. I'm so sorry. I'm tired. All the like jacks in the base were corroded to a degree, and the switches and all of that. And probably the worst part about it is that she had fallen over and her head was badly cracked, because you know it's a prototype, so it's made of resin, so it's heavy yet delicate and brittle. And so this thing fell, and when I get up close, you'll see how bad it is now. It was a lot worse, because the way the guy fixed it is he just put hot glue all over the face, and he even put some excess hot glue dripping off of her nose, which he's like, oh, it looks like she has snot dripping out of her nose to make it creepier, but it's just like, I don't think he realizes what this thing is. So, yeah, I'll show that in a second, but this thing was very expensive because he originally didn't want to sell it, and then we agreed on a price, and then last second he said, oh, UPS is too much of a hassle, I don't want to sell it anymore, and that kind of scared me badly and made me aggravated, because I worked a long time to, get him to sell it. And so I had to actually go up about $200 for how much I was going to pay for it. And I'm not going to get into how much I paid for it, but sitting here now, it's definitely worth more than what I paid, but I paid a lot for it. Like, I've never really spent this much on a life size before. And I got this almost a year ago now, which is crazy. But, yes, as you can see, here's the face. You can see areas where the nose and forehead were kind of repainted because the paint was missing. It's unfortunately not the exact same color. Maybe it'll be matched one day. But you can see there's this big crack in her mouth that kind of runs up there, goes through there, and it goes all the way up there into the side a little bit. And you can see it's kind of separating again, because I gave this head to Bailey, well, the whole witch to Bailey to fix several months ago, and he did kind of reseal up everything, but it's kind of expanding again over time. There's only one piece missing, surprisingly, which is right there. But you can see that this is a really bad crack. And it used to be worse than this, which is really surprising. But this fabric is not original. In fact, it didn't even have the original black dress, and the guy found it on another prop that he had customly designed. So he put that on there. The staff wasn't included at all, so I got one of those like violently like shaking staffs from Walmart in like 2004 or 5, and surprisingly it's the same skull, just a different stick. So I took one of those and mounted it to where it doesn't swivel like that. And then I added on this gray wig or hair extension, whatever you want to call it, that I purchased on eBay. And Jordan glued that. Thank you, Jordan. It could have been better because it was last second. It's kind of lopsided, and Kevin put this on backwards. But you know, it's all good. Not calling you guys out or anything. But this is supposed to light up in here, but the LEDs kept frying themselves out and burning up. So there needs to be a resistor added in there one day. The way that works is there's this plug coming out of her hand, and it actually sends a lot of volts out. And that makes the eyes light up here. So I'll show you the base. Top of the base could be cleaned off a little bit, but the bottom was just completely covered in dry mud. But it has a tri-me jack, volume control, on, off, and sensor, those kinds of switches. And yeah, I went ahead and filmed this a few months back, and I'm going to use that clip when I demonstrate it. But yes, so thank you, Bailey, again for replacing all of the components in the base. Everything but the board was just toast, basically. And when the guy originally tested this item, he used a 24-volt adapter. A normal item would have instantly fried, but since the EEPROM is the programming, it's wired away from the board, it didn't affect that somehow. And the eyes just stayed constantly lit, and it danced extremely quick. If the gear was not split for the head, it would have flung the head off and towards the wall or something. But yeah, it danced really quick. I'm actually going to include that clip at the end of this video if I can. I think that's about it with this, but it's come a long way. It was barely salvageable when I first got it. I paid a lot of money for it, and it's now here, and it's really cool that we can finally see this 2012 character in action. And if you think this is the exact same head they used for the Clemming Cauldron, which they actually resculpted it to where the mouth isn't open as wide, and her head is a lot more narrow. So that's just a little fun fact. But yeah, so enough of me talking about it. Without further ado, we will demonstrate it for you. And it may or may not have the staff in its hands and the other fabric, but you'll still see what it does.